I'm Kat.
I'm Hayley.
You were right there.
Well, you're always right there.
You just like came in on my heels like you were waiting your whole life.
Get out of my business.
Get out of my business. By the way, this is Night Classy, the podcast where tipsy teachers teach fascinating lessons. What are we drinking, Hayley?
Just you attempting to try to say that says everything that needs to be said. Episode over. But we might as well just continue. We're drinking a box of wine, Nighthawk Black.
A Nighthawk Black.
You've ever heard of it? It is new from Argentina. It's a spooky box. It's a little spooky box. It's orange and it has black outlines on it.
Which makes it very spooky.
It's a dark Malbec from Argentina. Again.
Hold it up for the YouTube.
Oh, I knocked my mic.
I don't think they can.
Oh, that was the right direction. Here we go. I don't know how cameras work, but here it is. So you can see there's an outline of the trees and there's a little spooky owl or eagle or something with wings.
It looks really good on our counter. When I got back from Florida 2 nights ago, and when I came in our house, I was like walking around and you had cleaned and like rearranged some things. And I it didn't register to me at first, like what was different, but I was walking around and I was like, I feel like I stepped into an alternate reality where everything is the same, but nothing feels the same. And part of it was that there was an orange box on our counter instead of the usual purple box.
I know. It was very weird. And that there wasn't cat hair everywhere on the ground.
That too.
I mean, we might as well have carpet with how much cat hair's on our hardwood floors.
Disgusting.
I know. I did a full-on cleaning while I was living, like I said before, my best colonial woman life, while our hot water heater was out, while our Wi-Fi was out. I was just vibing and cleaning.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
But you wouldn't know it because for whatever reason, our basement decided it wants to smell like a dead animal and our whole house has followed suit.
It's always something. We should look up the dates and maybe something terrible happened in our house this October.
Or it rained a lot and there's mildew in the basement.
That too. There's mildew growing in my closet, so I had to sanitize and throw away some stuff in the hall closet.
The people who listen think we're living in squalor.
Yeah, I don't know why this is always like y'all's go-to thing.
We're trying to be relatable.
Yeah, doesn't everyone live this way?
It's always at the top of the show. You're just like, here's how disgusting the place where we live is.
Okay, we have a lot of college students listening. We have a lot of teachers. We know teachers don't make money.
We're relatable.
We are relatable.
You're welcome.
I'm just saying, if you have mildew growing on your clothes that are in your hall closet, you're not alone. But I got this dehumidifier thing that like collects all the water, and it's collected like 3 inches of water in the last 3 weeks.
Maybe we should put one in the basement. That probably wouldn't help.
It would overflow.
Yeah, our basement is basically just a hole in the ground.
Yeah, Alec just doesn't want anyone to know about the quality of life we live in.
I'm happy to let them know, but I think they know.
No, I like to remind the people to donate on Patreon.
Yes, because we pay rent with Patreon money.
No, we don't. Okay, yeah, you were being sarcastic. But
Yes,
I want to make it very clear that we do not.
I wish I could take a tally of how many times I'm being sarcastic and you think I'm being serious, because
it's a lot.
It's almost 100.
It's a lot, but it doesn't normally happen in real life.
Not
maybe
true.
it does.
Just now, if I would have been like, yeah, you're right, you would have been like, thank you. And I would have been like, mark the board.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Something about, and I'm not the only one. Other people can't tell when you're being sarcastic.
People just think I'm dumb.
No, people don't think you're dumb. You just like say things with like a sincere cadence. You're an actor.
I'm an actor.
Exactly.
I know. That's like, I remember a guy in college broke up with me, and I don't know if this was the reason why, but I told him that I like to say things that aren't true, basically lie about things that don't matter to see what people will say.
Oh,
or how they'll react.
That is psychopathic.
It is psychopathic looking back now, and I still do it. Like, I did it today. I asked Tommy, he was like, he got Taco Bell And he didn't get me any because we didn't think we'd still be home by the time he got to our house. So
Yeah.
I was like, will you give me half of your Taco Bell box? And he was like, what? And I was like, can I please have half of what's in your Taco Bell box? And he was like, if you really need it. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see what you would say.
Oh my
Like,
god!
stuff like that.
Like
Psycho.
you were trying to start a fight. If he had said no because he's hungry and you didn't think you'd have anything, you would have started a fight.
I just have trust issues, and I have to
Apparently
test. I have to test the waters, see
That's-
what I'm working with.
That's messed up, Hayley.
It was right of that guy to break up with me.
Yeah,
yeah. That was correct. I think that's why, honestly.
Probably.
So, who knows if this lesson I'm going to teach today is even true? I'm just going to do it all to see what you say.
Oh my god.
It's fun, really.
Okay. I'll take it at your word because I cannot lie. Like
It's
I'm
not
so bad.
lying.
It is lying. It literally is.
Sometimes I just say ridiculous stuff.
And see, the fact that your own boyfriend couldn't tell you were joking validates the fact that a lot of times I can't tell.
If someone knows me well enough, they know I'm fucking with them.
No, they don't. I know you very well. And I can tell probably 70% of the time, but that 30%, like, you get me.
It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. You're a woman of intrigue.
I don't know what this says about me. Maybe I need to continue therapy.
I think it says that you should go into a job like a secret agent where you lie to people and then you
That'd be
can
fun.
get it all out in a healthy way instead of baiting your
super spy.
boyfriend into a fight.
Tommy never fights with me though. He's just so like
because he
even.
gives you his Taco Bell. You know he shit his pants when you said that. He's like, I'm starving.
He was
and now
literally-
in order to avoid a fight because I hate confrontation, I have to give her my dinner.
He was halfway through his Dorito Los Tacos, and I was like, "This is the perfect moment to ask for half," because he's halfway through. And while I was doing it, I was dusting my fan. Like I had these Clorox wipes, and it was like my
Like pushing
fingers
dust
were
into
black.
his taco. It's like, well, I guess I don't want it now.
Yeah, give me your taco because I'm Doritos Los Locos. Loca.
Oh my god.
So anyway,
Wow.
that's how my brain works.
congratulations on being a crazy bitch.
Congratulations on being a crazy bitch's best friend.
Yeah, whatever.
If you're comfortable, I'm
comfortable with it.
Alec? He's not comfortable.
No.
He's never comfortable.
I was writing down Doritos Dos Locos, and I didn't hear what you said.
Nothing.
Okay.
Just ignore it.
Yeah, ignore.
Okay, well, we have business to handle.
Do we?
We do.
Like
we
what?
have new Patreons.
Yes, we do.
Patrons. Patreons. Patronies.
Patreon.
It's patronastic.
Patronastic.
That sounds like just people who really like patronizing people. It's patronastic.
Patronastic. I
Like-
just heard ass tick
I heard patronize.
and I didn't like it.
Don't patronize my ass tick.
He's very mature for his age.
Oh, you were thinking of like a bug on your
An
on
ass
your ass.
tick.
I was thinking of like a butt with like a tick.
Like your butt just twitches.
Yeah.
This is good stuff, guys.
What is happening? Okay, shout out our Patreon so we can stop.
Yeah, we're reunited after being away for literally
Yeah.
like 6 days, 7 days.
It was a long time.
And we just go buck wild. All right. Well, I would like to shout out Erin from Hellertown, Pennsylvania. Heller, barely know her. I like that though. Erin is a fellow educator. She's a middle school speech therapist.
Middle
and
school.
Shout out to middle school because woof. And shout out to speech therapists because I freaking love the speech therapists that I work with my students. And I just love when educators come together and feel like a team. And she also experienced having to do school via Zoom, which was the worst time of my life.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of educators can agree there were great things about being able to work from home, but overall it was pretty terrible.
And as a speech therapist, I feel like Zoom would be a very difficult medium. I don't know. Just I feel like that's a job. I mean, teaching obviously also is better in person, but speech therapy is probably tough.
Yeah, it's
virtual.
hard to hear people virtually, just like period, but to be able to work specifically on speech, like shout out to you, Aaron. And we love you so much. Thank you for your support and good luck this year. Make it to Thanksgiving break, make it to winter break, do your thing. We're rooting for you and thank you for tuning in. We love you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. And I would like to shout out Helena Ainsworth of Portland, Maine. Thank you, Helena. Helena is like a freaking gem. I've talked to them on Instagram a whole bunch and they donated at the $10 tier. So I get to do their lesson and it's really fucking good and something I never would have thought of in 100 million bajillion years because I'd never heard of it.
Well, damn.
And I'm excited.
Tell us what it is. Do it now. Do the lesson.
No. But after spooky season, I will definitely do it. It's next on my list after our Halloween episode. And I asked Helena what they like, anything else they wanted included in their shout out. And I'm just going to read their message because Alec will really enjoy it. But I don't enjoy it.
Oh.
So, quote.
Controversy.
When I was in middle school, my friend had the Twilight books and not me. So she'd lend them to me when she was done to read. When she gave me Breaking Dawn, she burst out, "Bella gets pregnant and becomes a vampire. I'm so sorry." And now I bitterly, with my whole heart, hate spoilers. I just got to y'all's heated spoiler debate and I need you to know spoilers always matter for fictional material. Kat is objectively wrong. Sorry, not sorry. And Avi, thank you for making my workday fun. You guys deserve any and all hype and praise you get as podcasters and teachers. But
you are the worst, Kat, because you just did a spoiler by reading a message from somebody who hates spoilers.
I told Helena that, but so I told them essentially that they are a hypocrite because they asked.
You're like, look what you've done.
And now I've just spoiled. Well, actually,
Trauma
Helena
is a cycle.
has just spoiled everything. Yes, it is a cycle.
No, you chose. You could have said my friend gave it to me and then immediately spoiled the book. You chose to spoil.
I chose spoiler because I strongly disagree. I think there's a statute of limitations on spoilers.
If there's a statute of limitations for serious crimes, there shouldn't be a statute of limitations like period for some things, and spoilers is one of them.
So your argument is if there's a statute of limitations on serious crimes, then they're also that's kind of backwards.
I'm trying to think of what I meant. I'm saying that there shouldn't be a statute of limitations for spoilers or for serious crimes. Like if you if you like grab some makeup from Walgreens, like, yeah, maybe give it a year for, statute of limitations to expire. But like murder,
I don't think there is
rape.
A statute of limitations on murder.
Not murder,
there is
but
on
like,
rape, which there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be.
My problem with your logic is that it's as if young children don't exist.
And as if
young children don't listen to this episode.
You're not the center of the universe. I'm
okay,
sorry.
well, Helena would agree with you. So I guess thank you, even though that was super rude.
Yes, thank you. I feel totally vindicated.
We're bringing it all back up. Oh gosh. What was once a scab is now open.
Yeah. Alec will maybe bleep out the spoiler if he stays true to his guns, and if he doesn't, then he's just a hypocrite.
It's just gonna be Bella gets bleep and she gets bleep.
It won't be bleeped on YouTube, so go to YouTube if you want to hear the unbleeped version.
Or just read the books.
Also, shout out that we're going to be on YouTube now. So if you want to watch our tired, unmakeuped, pajamaed selves, you can go to YouTube and see what we look like in all our glory.
See how many times I back away from the camera to sniffle my nose. Or to pick something out of my nose.
The videos will not be edited, so you'll get the raw, uncut
videos.
Material. Do not lie. Unfiltered. For sure.
So that's good. We're getting worse. No, I'm just kidding. It's not worse. We've gotten better, which is why we're going raw.
Yeah, we can be uncut now.
Can and will.
We have had enough practice.
Must.
84 episodes in.
We're getting old, man.
We're getting so fucking old. One last plug. Make sure that if you're a Patreon, you come to our costume party, our Zoom costume party on October 29th. That is just a few days before Halloween is at 8 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be in costume. We're going to drink cocktails. I think we should do like a pumpkin flavored cocktail for Halloween.
Sure.
Let's fucking go. It's going to be really fun. So make sure you come. You don't have to come, but we want you to. But you could. And it's going to be really fun. We promise.
Yeah. I mean, who stays on a Zoom for 3 hours unless it's fun? That's what happened last time.
That is what happened last time.
1 hour.
And if you're like me and you're like, oh my God, like I could probably do 20 minutes, but like if this goes 3 hours and I know I'm going to be too socially awkward to leave, even though I'm not having fun anymore and I just want to go to bed, it's a safe space.
We should make
whenever you need to log off, you can.
Yeah, make little like checkpoints. Like every 30 minutes, we're like, okay, restroom break. Everyone, turn off your cameras.
Right, and then you don't have to feel pressure to turn it back on.
Yeah,
unless you want to, and you'll want to because it'll be fun.
Yeah, it will be lots of fun. We had so much fun last time, and we can't wait to see all your bitches' costumes. So be there. Don't be there.
Yeah, that's fine too. We won't hold it. We won't look through the list of Patreons and cross out your picture of those who didn't show up.
Shit list.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely not. But I'm looking forward to it. I have to pick which costume I'm going to do now because I have a plethora of costumes.
I only have one and I still need to make it. So
you're going to be making it after school that day.
100%.
Yeah,
that is the plan.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You know me.
I know you.
All right. Well, we breathalyzed and I blew a .018.
And I blew a .043.
So Hayley's going first.
I'm going first. Like I said before, I think this will be a 2-parter. I have a lot of information, and I'm sorry if you hate 2-parters. I'm sorry, but I literally read a book for one of my sources. So
she goes hard.
I got the info. I got the tea. We're trying to get home to watch The Batch, not make this a 3-hour episode.
Shit, I forgot.
Yeah, well, there's your reminder. Okay, well, let's get into it. Karl Tanzler was born February 8th, 1877 in Dresden, Germany. In his childhood, he claims he was visited by a deceased ancestor, Countess Anna Kostelina von Kosel, who showed him what the love of his life would look like. He described her, and I have issues with this, but he described her as an exotic, dark-haired woman.
Okay.
According to his memoirs, Karl was up late studying at university one night. So many years after this initial vision, we're fast forwarding here, when there was a ruckus around his office. A pencil started to roll by itself, and then the pencil was floating in air after that. And a few other things happened, just similar things like rustling of papers and things like that. But he ended up brushing it off and going to sleep. He woke up about 3 hours later around 2 a.m. by a woman who was standing next to him near his bed. And he noticed that there was a younger woman behind her. And this older woman, Karl recognized her to be Countess Anna, the same countess who had given him the vision when he was a child. And the countess tells him that she has brought him the bride whom someday he will marry. And the young girl steps out from behind her, and she's young. She has this long, dark, curly hair. She's very beautiful. And then they both disappeared, and he fell back to sleep. Karl was a very scientific-minded person, but he still could not deny the vision he saw. But he also realized and was comfortable knowing that he couldn't provide a reasonable explanation for that dream or that vision. And so he set off on what you might call his life mission that he called Ulysses in Search of Elena. That's what he named this bride to be, was Elena. Ulysses, yes.
Like a Ulysses S. Grant.
I think it's Ulysses.
Ulysses.
Ulysses?
I don't know things.
It's like Ulysses and the Odyssey, but he was modeling it after like Greek mythology. He was like, this is what I'm doing now.
Okay.
So he sets off on a continental search for his beloved.
If you're getting spiritual visions and like someone is showing you who you're going to marry, I feel like that tells you you don't have to work that hard. Like fate is going to bring her to you.
Yeah, she'll be there.
She'll be there. She's in your bedroom in spiritual form. You do not have to do all this extra shit.
What are you looking for?
Right.
Like the vision came to you.
He just wanted to go on a fun little trip and
just do whatever he wanted to do. Yeah. So he goes to Australia.
As you do.
That was his first stop. This was 13 years before World War I began. And so he's like, maybe she's here. Maybe I can find Elena here. And he worked as a civil engineer, and he called himself an X-ray expert. Apparently, he worked for the Australian government. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's unclear if Carl actually ever lived in Australia at all. But according to him, his bride-to-be continued to visit him regularly in visions. And at this point in time, he's 24 years old.
Okay.
So he's going on a lot of dates, I guess you would call them, with his bride-to-be. She visits him, says a few things, nothing really important. He just sees her around a lot. And one time, the apparition even stayed with him for an entire week.
What?
Just
while he was awake?
While he was awake. And then when he slept, she would stand by his bed.
Ew.
And yeah, he's like, one day you'll be real.
And he never brought someone in to see her?
He never brought someone in to see her. He never visited a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's step number one.
Numero
Sign
uno.
up for Talkspace.
And when he wasn't visiting with his apparition girlfriend, Carl was building things. He was super into
building a bed for his ghost girlfriend.
Well,
oh God.
He built a lot of things. One of them was this water plane. He also built an organ by hand. He would play music. He's just loved working with his hands and loved building things. He was a very technical, scientific-minded person.
Okay.
Now, when World War I broke out, Carl had been living in Australia for over a decade. In his memoirs, he claims that the military moved him for safety. But it's suspected that Carl was in the German army.
For other people's safety.
Get out of here. Yeah. For your safety. So during the war, Carl was essentially a prisoner of war for about 5 years in Australia.
Oh, wait.
Or
I'm
wherever
confused.
he was.
So, wait, what?
Here's the thing. He's a liar.
Okay.
So we have his memoirs, and we know what we'll get to later in the story about the media will be involved at some point. We know what goes on there. But before all this, we're not really sure. Did he live in Australia? We don't really know, but we do know that he was in custody during World War I. During this time, he built a massive organ, and he also built this like castle, or he was trying to build a castle from debris he found on the beach. So
sounds like Alec.
Excuse you.
I could see you being a sandcastle king for sure.
He builds castles out of driftwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're one and the same. So, as this guy,
Calling me a liar.
Telling you need to see a psychiatrist. I don't know. Are you a liar?
I was gonna make some joke about the breathalyzer, but I couldn't riff fast enough.
Oh, well,
we had a whole
you
fight.
let us down. Yeah. We're always fighting.
Yeah, always.
That should
the
be
only
part
time.
of-
The only time we're not fighting is when we're recording.
Yeah, pretty much. It should be part of Patreon. Just do all of our fights.
Just film our
We should
fights.
live stream our fights.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny.
fun. All right. So anyway, he's a prisoner of war. Some suspect that Carl suffered from PTSD during his time in this internment camp. He was constantly in the sun, isolated. From his own words, he was bordering on insanity. And remember this, because it could explain some actions in his mental state later on. So when World War I came to a close, Carl was shipped back to Germany with a bunch of his other prisoners of war. I almost said prisoners of wars, but his fellow German natives were shipped back to Germany. And while he was away, his father died, one of his sisters married and moved to America, and his mother was very old. So a lot have changed within about a 15-year time span. Carl felt completely out of place. What was once home was no longer that. He was depressed, and his mother was just like, just get out of here. Like, get out of post-war Germany.
I am so tired of hearing about how you're dating a ghost.
Yeah, you need help. And we all know America is the place to go for health care. So get on out of here.
Oh my.
So she's like, honey, just go to your sister in America. And he does that. Now, one small detail that Carl leaves out of his writings is that while he was home, he got married to a real person.
Oh.
And they had 2 daughters.
Whoa.
Yeah. He got married to Doris Schaefer. They had 2 daughters, Aisha and Clarista.
What if he named one Elena?
That would be really fucked up. I want to fuck my daughter. No.
Oh god.
That would be really, really bad.
Yeah, I was
And would
just
hate
thinking
that.
like it would just be a fucked up thing to do to his wife. Like, oh, you know what a nice name would be? Elena. And she doesn't know that like he's naming her after his future wife.
Ew.
Just like tax on a junior on the birth certificate when she's not looking.
Oh my gosh. It's like a junior/senior. Like, I don't know who's going to be born
Oh,
first,
God.
my daughter or my future wife. I'm trying to be one of those really old white guys who dates the really young girl. It's super inappropriate. Okay. Well, the thing is that Carl does not mention his actual wife or children one time in his memoirs. We know them to be true. They're real people, but he doesn't talk about them once in this entire collection that he wrote about his own life. So there's that. Carl immigrated to the United States from Germany in 1926. And before that, he visited Havana. And he was like, maybe I'll find Elena here. I just really feel like the vibe is right. He stayed for longer than he initially expected in Cuba, and he cited in his memoirs that he was, quote, held to the spot by some strange, irrational hope that I could find my lost bride in this carnival world. This was probably because there were so many beautiful ladies of the Spanish type who somehow resembled her.
Oh my god. Okay.
So he knows exactly what she looks like.
Yeah.
And he's just people watching for his bride to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So not having found his mystery bride, he heads to Florida, Zephyr Hills, which is where his sister lived. And this is where his wife and children also planned on meeting him eventually. And they do just that.
Really?
About a year later after he had moved there.
Oof. I mean, they're better off there with his crazy ass than in post-war Germany.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
They stay there for a long time, but the reunion was not what they expected. No one knows from the sources I read exactly what happened, but we do know that Carl abandoned his family real fucking quick.
I'm fucking shocked.
He's like, wait, you're here right now?
Ew.
What
is that?
You were back in the home. How long have you been here? You know my address?
Just like screams.
What does it mean? So So Carl leaves his family. He's the newest bachelor in his mind on the scene. He stays in around the town. He stays in Florida and he buys some land. He gets this job at the Marine Hospital at Key West. And the first job he gets there is cleaning up after surgical procedures. But eventually he just convinces his supervisor that he knows enough about x-rays that he could actually work as an x-ray technician.
Oh, because he was an x-ray expert.
Yeah, back in Australia. Yeah.
And
I'm
an
expert.
engineer in Germany.
I mean, all you have to know is how to spell it. E-X-R-A-E, x-ray. So before all this, he told the hospital that he was a medical doctor, and they checked and they're like, bro,
No, you're not.
You're literally lying. And he was like, no, but I could clean up after the doctors and then work my way up. So they're like, well,
he just kept trying things. He's like, I'm a medical doctor. No, you're not. But I am an x-ray technician. Sure. I guess we can't disprove that.
yeah, I'm an expert. What it's in, who's to say? But
I mean, how hard is it to put an x-ray in front of someone and push a button?
I'm just trying to pump people with x-rays, man. Well, I mean, what? If that doesn't make me an expert, I don't know what does. There's nothing harmful.
Right.
It's fine.
And it's easy.
It's so easy. It's so easy. Another thing about Carl is that he goes by a lot of different names. So sometimes he spelled his name with a C, sometimes with a K. His immigration documents and U.S. citizenship, all his shit has different names or variations of his name, Carl. Okay, so with his new name at the hospital, he decided that he was going to be Count Carl von Cosel. So Carl introduced himself as Count since he was of noble lineage, obviously.
Oh, yes. He once talked to a countess in his dream.
And he's like, that's my ancestor. That's her.
Yeah.
Good old Auntie Countess.
It's hard
Anna.
to deny.
Yeah. I mean, the resemblance is shocking. One time he had a gold-plated watch with diamonds that he had made for himself, and inscribed on the inside of the watch was Count von Cosel from the Tsar of Russia. So he just did that himself. And he even tried to kind of zhuzh up with his boss at the hospital by giving his botch. I mean, he botched something. But he tried to give the watch away to his boss, and his boss is like, no, that's all right.
That's yours. That says Count von Schnossel on it. I don't want it.
It has your name on it. I'm not from the Tsar of Russia, so that's you. It's all you, bud.
You're way too thirsty.
So
Give your boss
thirsty.
a diamond watch.
And Carl's like, okay, and then basically forces it upon his boss's wife.
Oh.
And she's like, I mean, it's like the 1900s. She's, a polite lady. And she has to
I'll
take
take
it.
a fucking gold and diamond watch.
Yeah,
and
maybe I
sell
can sell it, divorce my husband, and
live that
move to Australia.
best widow life. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just, if you haven't gotten this already, he's a weird guy. He's a very weird guy. And one time, I mean, we knew this was true, but in this book that I read, one of his family members came forward on the topic of his noble blood, and they literally said, it's just something he made up.
I mean, we all have noble blood, right? Like, if
All
you
born from Adam and
trace
Eve.
it, right. If you go back far enough, I'm sure we all have some of it.
Yeah, so I guess he's right. But if you have to have a vision of a ghost of a countess to be able to trace your lineage, then maybe it's not that sound.
Is that why he was saying he was a count?
Yes, because he saw a painting in his childhood of the countess, this real person, and he had this vision of her, and he was like, that is my ancestor.
Was the painting in his house? Maybe
I think so. I think it was in his house. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So he's just loves loves jumping to conclusions. It's his favorite thing to do. So, I mean, things are going fine for him, though. He's worked his way up. He's an x-ray technician at this Marine hospital. And one day, this woman comes in as a patient. Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos was taken to the hospital by her mother on April 22nd, 1930. She had a long-lasting cough, fever, chills, night sweats, and a loss of appetite, aka tuberculosis. And much of her immediate family also later died of tuberculosis. I mean, there was no vaccine.
Everyone was dying of tuberculosis.
They
back
just
then.
fucking loved getting tuberculosis.
They loved it.
Hose for disease.
Hose for TB for sure. And that does not mean tight butthole. It means tuberculosis.
It means whatever you want it to mean. So she clearly has tuberculosis, and she's also married legally. Unfortunately and hurtfully, her husband left her after she suffered from a miscarriage.
Ooh.
Yeah. But none of this mattered to Carl because he recognized her as his beloved, his bride-to-be.
Okay.
This was his woman. He was in love. She had curly black hair. She was very beautiful. She had this giving nature about her. And so he knew it. He was very nervous, like helping her, like get her heart rate, just basic things, checking them in before the actual doctor came to see them. And so she came in, they checked her out, and the doctor's like, come back tomorrow, we'll get you an x-ray. And of course, Carl is her x-ray technician so that they can look at her lungs. And he already knew that this was his beloved. So when she came in that day, he instructed her to take her blouse off for the x-ray because the x-ray wouldn't be able to see through her blouse.
What a fucking creepazoid.
Yeah, I can see through your skin, but the cotton of your blouse is just
too much. It has
too thick.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that just sets the mood for this whole thing that's about to go down. And Elena was to return to the hospital the next day for her results. And Carl was upset because he found the lesions. It was clear she had tuberculosis, and he diagnosed her. And he was like, well, fuck, I finally found my bride, and now she's not going to live that much longer.
Now she's dead.
What am I supposed to do?
Cure tuberculosis.
Well, there are a lot of things he could have done. We're going to find out what he does. Carl says that Elena and her mother could not ignore his immense interest in her. And this caused them to invite him to their home.
No.
That they were like, you're just such a nice guy, Mr. Expert Doctor, X-ray Technician, super guy. So he's like, yeah, I'll go to your home. And
Oh, sure.
during his visits to their home, according to Carl, Elena and him bonded over their love for Saint Cecilia, and they were both immigrants to the United States. So
Well, everyone likes Saint Cecilia. That's no
right.
thing
It's
to
easy.
Like, yeah. Like, I could walk up to someone on the street. It's like pizza. Everyone
Is there
likes Saint
any
Cecilia.
saint that you'd be like, oh no, I don't fuck with them?
I don't know a single saint besides Nicholas, so I'm going to say no.
Saint Mary, I only know by the thousands of churches named after her.
Saint Joseph sounds like it is a thing.
Saint Edward's, that was
Okay.
a school around in Ohio. I mean, just pick any basic white person name, put Saint in front of it. And
My Catholic grandfather is rolling over in his grave. He's so pissed right now. He's like, I took you to mass one time. For what?
For what? For you to not be able to talk about your favorite saints on your podcast where you
Right.
get drunk and cuss? So they were falling in love.
Okay.
According to Carl.
Over Saint
Saint Cecilia,
Cecilia.
and being immigrants and him being an expert and her being sick.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's that.
Okay.
An everlasting love. Carl was a man with a motherfucking plan. He believed he was the person most qualified to help her
Oh, no.
and to treat her tuberculosis with a concoction of medicine, drugs, x-rays, and other random electrical equipment that he brought to Elena's home. Carl decided that he would not charge the family for Elena's medical expenses or any of the procedures he conducted. And until this time, Carl had been actually sending money to, his real wife and his real family.
Right. I forgot about them.
He did too. But after meeting Elena, his bride-to-be, he was like, fuck that. So the checks became sporadic and then non-existent. In addition to this, he was showering her in these x-rays and drugs. He was also showering her in gifts of jewelry and clothing. Carl was not shy about his lust for Elena, and he professed his love to her constantly. Can you imagine a doctor coming into your house to treat you medically and being like, I fucking love you, bitch?
I mean, it sounds like she was on board, right?
We don't have her perspective.
Okay.
And her family was like, well,
He's
this
treating you for
guy's
free.
treating you for free.
Yeah.
Like, he seems okay.
He's also not a doctor.
He's an expert.
He is an x-ray technician at the very most.
At the very most. He says that he had 9 degrees.
Of separation from sanity.
Not from an accredited institution, that's for sure.
No.
Maybe a mental institution, which it could have helped him a lot. He needed mental help. Actually, he was unwell. But yeah, his family was like, he's paying for her treatment and he seems okay. And she has tuberculosis, which is really fucking scary in the 1930s. So he would profess his love to her, and Elaine would remind him, like, I'm married in the eyes of God. Like, yes, my husband, Luis, he left me, but I'm married. I can't do this. Just let me get better first, and then we'll see.
Yeah, then I'll deal with the paperwork.
Yeah.
Takes a lot to get divorced in the 1930s.
First of all, my lungs.
Yeah. Let's set our priorities straight here.
Hashtag can't breathe. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, stop. Just your jewelry and clothing gifts are only going to go so far. You need to cure me first. Her family just put up with Carl because, I mean, what do they know? He claimed to be the best one to take care of her and didn't charge them anything. And while he wasn't tending to Elena, he was restoring this airplane that he had. He planned, in the grand scheme of things, we now know that his plan was to heal her and then for the two of them to set off in this plane that he was restoring and go to Australia.
Why does he love Australia?
Probably
They kept
because
him
they're
as a
batshit.
prisoner.
Did they, though? We don't even know if he was actually there.
I guess, but
Like, if I'm a psychopath, he's like psychopath times 1,000.
yeah.
Okay. So he gave her lots of gifts, especially when she was feeling down because, you know, she was
Always feeling down.
Yeah,
She was dying.
She was feeling so down. She was about to be 6 feet down. He wrote her lots of letters. There's no evidence to support that Elena felt the same way towards Carl. We don't have her memoirs. She dies. Spoiler alert, she dies. Her feelings did not matter to him, though, because she was his destiny.
Oh my God.
There was, though, a period of time where her family became distrustful of Carl, and they took Elena to a different doctor because they're like, we don't really know about this guy. But the injections that doctor gave her interacted in a harmful way with the medicine that Carl had given her. And it was just a whole shit show. So they were trying to stay away from Carl and dodged him whenever they could. But she just got so much worse that they were like, well, I guess we have to go see the expert, the one who claims to be the one to cure her.
Yeah, now she's like being held hostage by him.
Yeah. And just all on a bed of lies.
Yeah.
And he's just like schmoozing them, basically.
Is what he's doing actually making her better?
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I figured not, but I don't know.
No, he doesn't know anything.
Okay.
So she's not getting better, and despite his best efforts of blasting her with x-rays, she died October 25th, 1931. She did hang on for quite a while, but after she died, Carl actually got her parents to agree to him moving into their house.
What?
He's like, I loved your daughter. I just want to be close to her. I'll pay you $5 a month for rent if you let me live there. And they're like, I mean, we're broke. We need money. Like,
they're like, this is the Great Depression. Done.
Yeah. And Carl knew the family well by this point. He offered to pay for her funeral and to commission a mausoleum for her. They agreed to both. Yeah.
Okay.
They're like, I mean, what could go wrong?
Many things.
Could go wrong?
Many a thing.
Nothing. So they agree, and Elena was buried in a shallow grave for the time being while the mausoleum was being constructed. So Carl had to work at the hospital during the day, and his nights were spent visiting Elena at her grave. He started to be concerned, though, after a lot of rain had come, and he felt
rotted
like
the body that he was doing necrophilia with.
an odor was rising from Elena's shallow grave. Why do you know so much about this, Kat?
I may have dabbled.
So he got a disinterment permit to take Elena's body from the shallow grave so that he could place her in a new coffin
In his bed.
and secretly rebed her body in case of any water damage, but mostly he just wanted to see her again.
Okay.
It's suspected that Carl bought off the undertaker so that he could redress Elena's body, which wasn't really necessary because she's dead. And it had to be done under the cover of night because her family did not know about this. So they dug her up. Carl got the coffin to the funeral home morgue where he confirmed the coffin had been damaged by grave diggers. Because it was kind of a small town, she was buried in a lot of the jewelry that he had gifted her. Thankfully, he bought a new coffin with all new bedding.
That he had the lock to.
Yes,
Key
he
to
did.
the coffin.
He fucking locks it. Okay. The lining inside the original coffin had attached to Elena's skin. So Carl sprayed diluted formalin all over her hardened body to help detach the fabric.
Oh my God.
He does all of this himself.
Well, he is a mortician.
He's an expert.
Yeah.
I mean, he has 9 degrees.
Right. One of them is bound to relate to this.
Did I mention that my ancestors invented formalin?
What?
Yes. It's crazy. I don't know how I forgot that. Oh, man. It's so crazy. I'm such a silly head. Carl worked all night cleaning up the body. From his memoirs, he was, quote, appalled at the negligence of the mortician who failed to embalm the coffin, which smelled awful. It was not the body that smelled awful.
Oh, the coffin smelled bad. You know how wood and silk smells so bad.
It's all in the coffin. That's what I always say. Carl came back the next night and placed her body in his specially made incubator tank.
Oh, no.
Which was his homemade tank that suspended her body in formaldehyde. Did I mention he liked to tinker?
Oh, my God. He literally made her a fish tank so he can display her in his house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So her body is placed in a new made-to-order double casket. The outer casket was made of steel and had 50 locks in places for screws. So he's like, I'm just getting her ready for the mausoleum. It's fine.
She's definitely still going to the mausoleum.
She's going to the mausoleum. Okay, I didn't just rent a U-Haul to transport her body to my house. You're being crazy. You're crazy. So the mausoleum was finished, and it was the, quote, Taj Mahal of the Catholic section. From the book I read, quote, the tomb was 8 feet wide and 5 feet high above the ground, with a concrete top arching between the sides. Atop the structure were 4 slender handmade columns supporting a small cupola? I don't know. And a metallic gold-plated cross, an inscription in Latin translated to Gone with the Angels. On the outside of the tomb, it had her name, when she was born, when she was died, rest in peace, and underneath it, Court D. Causal. He put his own name on this shit.
He couldn't have even done Saint Cecilia.
Yeah. It would have been a special little thing. Yeah, it's like an inside joke.
He's still attached to it, but it's also something she liked. Whereas,
and that his family could go to and not be reminded of that creepy doctor who was with her in her dying moments.
Creepy fuck who peeled her body off of her coffin.
It's nasty.
It's disgusting.
It's nasty. There are pictures of the mausoleum. We'll post them to Instagram too. Alec, yeah, you can show the first picture. I forgot. That's Elena and her sister. You can also see where the Count worked at the hospital is the second slide. We have pictures of Elena and then Elena and her OG husband.
Oh, I thought she's wearing like a ribbon around her forehead. I thought she had a very receded hairline.
He was super big into the 5 heads.
It's a huge forehead.
You can see on this next slide here where it has his name right down there at the bottom.
Yeah, look at that.
And then the next one, don't go beyond slide 6, but the next one here shows her mausoleum. It is very grand.
It is. Is it in Florida?
Yes, this is all in Florida. So, I mean, no wonder he had to stop child support payments because this shit is grand.
That's a house. I'd pay rent for that.
Oh, he paid. And actually, surprisingly, she does go into the mausoleum, okay? And he visits her there every night for a year and a half. He has his day job working at the hospital, and he has his night job of visiting his pretend dead girlfriend.
Okay.
Carl wanted to keep doing things for Elena, but there's nothing left to do, obviously. During his visits, he says that she started to talk to him.
No, I knew this was going to happen.
I mean, he's mentally sound. It's her. It's her.
Is she talking to him as a vision, or is her corpse becoming animated and talking to him?
Probably a little bit of both. Definitely a vision.
Okay. So he knows it's a vision and he's not like looking at her dead body talking to him.
Correct. Yeah. She is in this double coffin. Okay. She's definitely in there.
I mean, I figured he was opening it up. Is he not?
He's not opening it up right now.
Okay.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Okay.
She would even serenade him. Elena's friends later confirmed that her favorite song was a Spanish song called La Boda Negra, which is the black wedding. And Carl says that this is the song that she would sing to him. To this day, locals in Key West believe that this song was written about Carl and Elena, but it's just this weird coincidental foreshadowing that was actually written in the late 1800s. So I'll read you some lines of this song, okay? So it starts out like this. You must listen to a story I was told by an undertaker of the region. A young man's lover died before their wedding. Without her love, he simply could not reason. At night, she would visit the graveyard and think about the days she was alive. His tears would fall upon her tombstone, the tombstone of the girl to be his bride. On a night when thunder roared and lightning flashed, he broke apart the tombstone of her grave, and with his hands he dug into the earth, and in his arms he carried her away. by a flickering funeral candle light on his bed that flowers covered. He gently laid the body of his sweetheart and said his wedding vows to his dead lover. On her head he placed a wreath of flowers. Full of love, he held her close to him. He closed his eyes as he gently kissed her. Never again would he awaken.
Alec, if you die, I'm doing this to you.
Good.
Yeah, I fully expect. I don't want to be buried. I don't want to be cremated. I want to be preserved and sat down in the motherfucking living room.
That's right.
With a glass of wine in my hand.
As if nothing changed.
As it should be.
We'll watch The Bachelorette together. Me and your dead body.
Forever Bachelorette. Watching The Bachelorette. Just don't let Tommy do anything weird to me, okay?
I'll stand guard. We'll work in
good.
shifts.
Yeah. So, seems weird, right?
Yeah.
One night, Carl says that she asked him, "Are you listening to the song I sing you?"
Oh, no.
Carl, being the rational man that he is, says, "No, it's impossible. I couldn't do this."
I can't take her out of her tomb, put her in my bed, and marry her.
Amongst other things. That would be insane.
That's only what I think about when I'm falling asleep.
I would falling asleep. I would have 10 degrees then. So she convinced him. He does it.
Good.
Carl makes a plan to bring Elena's her body home. And he even holds a rehearsal the night before to work out any of the kinks. In April 1933, he creeps through the cemetery wearing a wedding tuxedo.
I thought you were going to say dress, and I don't know why that would have been so much creepier. I think because it's white.
Yeah, no. It's like, dude, you're trying to be inconspicuous.
Yeah, like, I don't know what a wedding tuxedo is, but
it's a tuxedo.
Yeah, but like
I mean,
a wedding dress, I know what that is, and I do not want to see it walking through a cemetery.
I don't want to see that I don't want to really see anything walking through a cemetery,
That's true.
honestly. But definitely not a wedding dress, not a wedding tuxedo, and that's not what you're gonna wear if you're gonna steal a corpse. That's just, it doesn't make sense. Like, you need to wear something tight-fitted and something you can move in.
But he was going to marry her, Hayley. You don't understand.
Well, one step at a time, bucko.
You have to wear a wedding tuxedo to get married.
I guess it had to be the same night? Like, all or nothing?
I mean, he's seeing her. She's seeing him for the first time in a while. He's got to look good and make his intentions clear.
He saw her every night for a year and a half.
It's different when it's the body.
Impressions are everything.
That's
You're
right.
right. You're right. So he shows up in this tuxedo and he breaks into the mausoleum and takes her body/coffin. And he uses a toy wagon to transport it.
Isn't the coffin filled with formaldehyde?
Yes.
How does he carry a coffin filled with formaldehyde in a body?
Not well. I'm sure it wasn't completely
that sounds
full.
heavy as fuck.
Well, we'll get to it. From Carl's memoirs, quote, "I was prepared to risk my life, to face any danger which would cross my path this night. There was no halfway. This was clear to me. Once it started, it had to be carried out to a finish. This was my resolve. Besides, I did not know a single person whom I could ask for help. Not a single human being who I could trust to be reliably discreet. And she would have to come out if I was ever to take proper care of her."
Just so you know, if you wanted to do something like this to Tommy, I'd help you.
That's good to know.
I wouldn't carry anything heavy because I don't do that shit, but I would keep a lookout.
You'd keep the lookout. Well, I don't want to fuck with that. I'm not interested. I'll get a plant. Like, Carl, get a plant. If you need to take care of something, why don't you help her family, actually?
Right, yeah.
Instead
but
of-
also stay away from them because you don't need to be anywhere near living people.
That's true. For their safety,
Yeah.
we're going to put you in prison. He said that it was indeed like a festival among the departed. The cemetery was seeing him out. It was like a great divine wedding march for me taking place. He's elated. He could not be happier. This was his and her destiny. And he felt completely justified in his actions since Elena's spirit would come to him. They would sit next to each other at her grave and she would serenade him. And she would also apparently tell him explicitly to take her from her grave.
Okay.
So he's unhinged. It was tough to get the coffin, as you can imagine, over the cemetery fence. He really struggled. He slipped several times. The coffin fell onto him and spilled a foul liquid onto him.
That's disgusting. And imagine if like it fell onto him and like pinned him to the ground, and then whoever works at the cemetery just comes in the next morning and he's like,
Not again.
stuck under a coffin.
Carl.
Carl, god damn it, Carl.
You borrowed my tux for this? So he has this foul liquid on him. He eventually gets the coffin over the fence and he wheels it to a house that he rented for a month as a halfway point because he was like, I know I'm going to be tired after breaking in, stealing a body, and putting the coffin over the fence, so I can't take it all the way to my house. And by the way, he's still living with her family.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
He sleeps.
What is the plan?
He sleeps in the bed
Carl.
that he bought her when she was dying. Carl.
That is just a bad plan. They're gonna smell her, buddy.
Bad plan, bad man. That's what I have to say.
Right.
That's all you need to know. So he smells like shit. He takes her to the halfway house and he tries to get clean. There's no running water at this house. He's like, fuck a utility bill. I'm just going to use this as a place to store her body and coffin until I'm ready. So he douses himself in whiskey to try and get rid of the smell. He still smells like shit. He goes home, leaves her body there at the halfway house. He goes home, which is Elena's family's house, smelling like dead, and tries to bathe the odor off. It still can't come off, and he just tries to avoid them. He goes to work the next day, goes home, tries to get his things together, and couldn't go back to the halfway house until the day after that. So he got a sedan, he returns to the halfway house, and he plans on transporting her the rest of the way to the airplane hangar that he had on the hospital grounds.
No.
Yes.
He is not putting her in an airplane.
He put that bitch in the motherfucking airplane.
How is an airplane big enough for a coffin?
Well, look at it. The next slide has the picture. So,
what the hell kind of airplane is that?
it is a restored airplane. Carl claims he built it from scratch. Most likely, he bought a wrecked airplane, hauled it to the hospital grounds, which were right around the morgue, so there weren't a ton of people there, and he started restoring it. So it has these huge wheels. It's meant to be able to go onto water as well.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
just
like a tank, and I'm realizing that I don't know what airplanes look like,
Well,
because
from
that
the
is not an airplane.
from the 30s. I mean, no, this is like a water plane. It doesn't have wings yet.
Okay, that's what it's missing.
Yeah. What is airplane?
What? I thought I could have sworn the airplanes had wings. That's just me.
Not
Maybe
this
I'm
airplane. He's an expert on all things futuristic, and future airplanes won't go in the air. So this one doesn't need wings. Or really
He just pushes it as a vehicle to wheel the coffin around.
all it needs is a dead body, a stolen specifically, not a regular licensed dead body.
Because those are easy to come by.
Well, depends. Just depends. He wasn't an expert on that. So poor Elena, poor her family. He had fashioned this airplane hangar into a lab on the morgue property, and it was regularly deserted. He made it really nice and cozy for her arrival. This is like what he was doing the day in between stealing her body and transporting it. He had brought all of her clothing there. He had like hung up a bridal dress, a veil, flowers. Her jewelry was there, her undergarments, and everything else that someone would need to have in their house, because in his eyes, this was her house forever.
The airplane?
The airplane. Yes.
So he's not going to fly her. She's just living.
Well, I mean, eventually, ideally, he wants to fly her to Australia and or the stratosphere so that they can live immortally together
he
forever.
wants to fly to the moon where the spirits live.
Yeah.
And then they can.
Well, he also has a theory that the radiation outside of like in outer space will cure her and bring her back to life. So
Right.
that's the ultimate goal. But for right now, just, I mean, soak her body in formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The first night he spent was spent on getting all of the screws and locks undone from her coffin. That was the whole first night. It took a really long time. And once he finally got it open, he was really upset by the stage of decay her body was in. The cloth inside of her coffin, again, like had fused with her skin and had soaked to her body. And so he soaked her body to loosen the cloth on her skin. He carefully removed the cloth and filled a bucket with said cloth/skin. The smell was awful.
Oh my God. Can you imagine how bad that must have smelled?
No. Like, even if I was in the mental state that he was in, I think that would be my stopping point.
That's your
like,
wake up call.
Yeah. It's like, what is it? I can't even think of it. But like that chemical that you put in your nose, you can like wake up from being passed out. Like that would be to be like, oh my God,
like Narcan?
Not Narcan. I can't remember. It was something we used in like chemistry.
Okay.
I can't remember. I'm sorry. But anyway, so he fills this huge bucket. The smell was awful. He had to lug it 200 feet to toss the contents of it into the ocean. He then proceeded to wash her over and over again to get the remaining fabric off of her skin. He washed her and the coffin with a phenol solution to disinfect and get rid of the odor. Elena, he says, was starting to look more like herself day by day. But the thing that bothered him the most was her lack of eyeballs.
Oh.
Oh, no.
So he's like, I mean, I can't just get some mismatched eyeball from wherever I can find them. Oh, wait, I work for a hospital. I can order eyeballs from a medical catalog.
Oh, thank God. I thought he was going to take someone's eyes.
That would be really bad. That would be the thing that set this story over the line that I would not cover it on Night Classy. That's the line.
Just stealing
fake
eyes.
eyeballs. No, he ordered her glass eyeballs from a medical catalog.
Okay.
And he dressed her in that wedding gown that he bought her. This next part is disgusting. So he would kiss her and then he would breathe air into her until he saw her chest rise.
Oh.
He felt like it was like his little way of like breathing life into her.
That is so fucking creepy.
He's really sick. Like he needed help really bad. Carl was washing her constantly and spraying eau de cologne, so a perfume on her. And in the book, the lady who ran the nearest little convenience store where he would buy this cologne was like, yeah, I mean, I wondered why he was buying so many bottles, but I mean, what was I supposed to know?
Yeah, fair enough.
Like,
nobody who would suspect this.
No one. Who would do this?
Yeah. If someone was buying a lot of bottles of cologne in my store, I'd figure they were like washing their floors with it or something. Like,
yeah, or reselling it, diluting it or something like that.
Never in 1,000 years.
Oh, you know what I think he did? He probably stole the body of his deceased imaginary crush and then just decided to keep her around and restore her body.
And Was he, I'm sorry, I blacked out. Was he dumping cologne on her or spraying himself with cologne so he didn't smell like a corpse?
Probably both. Mostly
Okay.
on her, though.
Okay.
Mostly on her.
Should have bought perfume. If I die, please don't spray me in cologne.
Yeah, if I
Get
die,
a good
please
perfume.
don't do anything that happened in this story. Don't do any of it.
But if you're
okay?
going to,
if you're going
get
to,
some Chanel.
anything
please,
but
please
Marc
not Axe
Jacobs.
body spray. Yeah.
Anything but fucking Marc Jacobs.
You don't like Marc Jacobs?
Well, no, because my stepmom uses it, and there are complicated feelings. I feel like with almost any step parent, that's
Yeah.
just fits the bill. But I got not Ipsy, what is it? Scentbird, and the first scent I got was the cologne or perfume that my stepmom wears, and I was like,
Oh, that sucks.
gotta be fucking kidding me. Which it's fine, whatever, but I do not
Do
wear
not
it.
like
No.
it. That's funny. I started doing Dossier
Yeah,
perfume.
yeah.
They're really good.
I've looked at that.
I'm
have
wearing
so
the
many.
knockoff of Tom Ford's Cherry right now.
I
and it
want to say
smells
let me
good.
smell, but I feel like we're too
Bro,
far.
You can try.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. It's
Yeah.
fresh, floral.
It's actually like kind of. I thought it was like
Is it?
dark and like it smells like cherry and bourbon and cinnamon.
Yeah, you're probably right. Anyway,
Okay, sorry.
you don't smell as good as she did. I can tell you that. Carl was also interested in the Hindu religion, Hinduism.
Hinduism. God, Hayley.
Okay, so Brahman, from what I understand, is a spirit of the universe in Hinduism, and apparently it could be possible to bring someone back one time and one time only.
Get one chance.
Carl was interested in this for Elena, obviously, for obvious reasons, so he could actually meet her in person and fall in love with her. So he was thinking that he could prepare her body to wake up. He's like, if she's going to wake up and come back to life, I need to make sure she's in good shape so that she can be resurrected from the dead and be healthy. And the idea of awakening her in the condition that she was in was just out of the question. So he had to restore her. And all the while he's restoring her body, Carl's actual wife, Doris, is sending him these letters and requests like, please, we are drowning. Like, I can't pay for anything. Will you please help us? You have 2 daughters. You have me. We moved here to be with you. Asshole,
Yeah,
please.
douchebag.
And he just like throws them away.
I mean,
He
makes
doesn't even
sense.
read them. Yeah, I mean, checks out for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so in restoring her body, there were a lot of issues. There were maggot larvae around her head and ears and abdomen. He had to pull a lot of her hair out, and he had the foresight to collect hair from her mom to like fashion a wig for.
No.
Yeah.
How did he get
Yeah.
her hair?
Probably just from the hairbrush in the bathroom.
How? Okay. How do you make a wig from hairbrush hair?
I think he just pasted it on. I don't think he made a whole wig, but he just
still,
like
if you're gluing hairbrush hair to someone's head, that looks worse than them being bald.
it's real.
That is
real bad.
disgusting.
So he did that. He packed her abdomen with fabric doused in sterile fluid so that she could like hold her shape and have a form to her. He wrapped her toes and fingers in bandages with formalin to stop them from decaying any further. Once Elena's decomposition was slowed, he started working on her cosmetic appearance. He gave her a nose job by putting splints in her nose to keep them in place. Stuffed them with bandages for a month.
He gave her huge boobs.
Yeah. Brazilian butt lift.
Yeah.
Of course. Fillers for the win. He straightened out her arm that had been like folded across her body in the coffin. He fashioned this like cord and pulley with a weight so that like gradually the tension of it would like open her arm back out without breaking it. I have no idea what this means, but I have a direct quote for you from his memoirs. Quote, hot solutions were then administered to restore her intestinal tract.
Oh no.
So I think maybe he like poured fluids through her intestinal tract to like open them up. Carl wanted to make sure he always had an image of Elena no matter what happened. So he made several death masks. In doing so, he realized that the fine soiled silk that he had placed over her skin to protect her from the plaster had fastened itself to her skin.
He has a real problem with fabric fastening
I
itself
know,
to
like,
her skin.
dude, I mean, how many times are you going to get it wrong
Right.
before you get it right?
Don't put fabric on her skin.
Yeah, just
Like-
stay away from the fabric.
Stop with the fabric.
So he had to leave the fabric on. And he painted over it with some beeswax and some balsam. And he was like, you know what? This looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. This looks pretty good. It looks like her real skin. So this process of giving her new face gave Carl an idea. Like, why not do all of her skin?
Do we have pictures?
Oh, yeah, we have pictures. So that's exactly what he did. Alec, you can show the next slide here. We, I believe, should have a picture of what she looked like.
No.
Just tell the people what you're seeing.
It looks like a mannequin. It really does.
Yeah, it doesn't even look real.
No, it looks like she has like a plaster face, and he's not good at drawing on eyebrows.
I
for
know.
one.
I mean, for the time is fashionable.
I
thin
guess
eyebrows,
they are like long and round.
He never claimed
Dark
to be
eyebrows.
an expert on eyebrows.
And then the hairbrush hair is really just glued on top there.
Yeah, it looks like just a straight up toupee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Hitler's hair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It does. No mustache, though. No mustache.
Thank God.
But if you put a mustache on that, I would look like Hitler.
It sure would. I mean,
Okay.
it is a theory that he was a part of the German army. So who knows?
That's what this was all about.
Yeah, he's just trying to subtly recreate Hitler. So everything is going well, or as well as it can, when you've stolen the corpse of your not girlfriend / patient / crush, and you're preparing her body for the resurrection in your restored airplane on government property until a new guy comes to town. He's the new boss of the Naval Hospital. And this new boss comes to Carl and he's like, listen, man, you got to move this airplane project. It's got to go elsewhere. You can't have this on government property. So all Carl had to do was move his airplane hangar and his girlfriend's stolen corpse.
Easy.
Tune in next week to hear what happens to Elena and Carl.
Dun dun dun.
It's fucking spooky. This is like the scariest thing I could find. So yeah, that's what I've got for
Dang.
part 1. Find out what happens because things do happen.
I am into this.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. It's really fucked up.
It is. My lesson is fucked up too.
Good soul sisters.
This is long. Should we even do a break, or do you want to just plow through?
Does anyone need to pee?
I'm
I
good.
don't need to pee. Do we even want to do a commercial?
We can plow through.
Yeah, let's
I'll
plow
just
through.
Go for it.
All right, little freebie for you guys. Yeah.
Little Free Willy. Okay.
Sorry that was so long, everybody.
Oh, no,
don't
that
be
was
sorry.
great.
I was glued to you.
Literally glued.
Literally
via
glued to my seat from
fabric
decomposition.
and dead skin. Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, here we go. Hello, everyone. Trigger warning. This is a fucked up one. I'm gonna briefly mention insects. Oh
Insects.
no. Incest.
So if you're an arachnophobe,
Don't
Get out.
listen. No, on a serious note, sexual abuse and those are mentioned briefly, but like also extreme violence and gruesomeness will not be brief. So prepare yourself or skip this one.
If you've made it this far,
Yeah, that's true.
you're fine.
it's like in podcasts where like, you might want to sit this one out. They're like an hour and 30 minutes into the most gruesome stuff on her.
Yeah, this episode is
Oh
really
my
messed
God.
up.
Yeah.
And I can tell it's going to be a long one. So thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay. All right. Okay. Hinterkaifeck was an isolated farm located in Bavaria.
Oh my God, I thought it was a person.
No.
Hinterkaifeck.
It's the name of this farm. It's about 43 miles north of. I wrote north of German. I think I meant Munich, and
North of almost anywhere, depending on where how you turn the globe.
43 miles north of German, and about a mile behind the nearest town of Kaifeck. Hinter in German means behind, so it's like behind Kaifeck, behind the town of Kaifeck.
Hind leg. Yes, behind.
Yes. Thank you. Good connection. Our story takes place.
Language. I'm an expert.
I thought you were telling me language like I was saying a bad word. I'm like,
Language police. I'm an expert in language and policing it. Continue.
and police. Our story takes place in the 1920s when the Gruber family owned the farm. On the farm lived Andreas and his wife, Cecilia, his daughter, Victoria, who is an adult. She's also a widow, and her 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia, named after her mom, I presume, and her 2-year-old baby, Josef. Hinterkaifeck was not a happy home. I know you're shocked.
It sounds scary.
It is scary.
Just you
And
saying it made me think it was a person who was really scary. I think it's worse to have a place that's scary because places don't die.
Bad things happen at places, at
Places
scary
don't
places.
Go to jail.
And I'm drunk and I can't stop smiling because I'm really uncomfortable because what I'm about to say is not okay. I need to take a minute. I'm smiling out of discomfort.
A Bennett?
And drunkenness. Okay. Hinterkaifeck sucked ass. Victoria was not the only child born to Andreas and Cecilia, but she was the only one who survived to adulthood. We don't have like any proof of this, but like the town gossip was her siblings died as a result of Andreas's abuse. He was well known by the townspeople to abuse his children physically and sexually. Victoria's son, Josef, was rumored by the town to have been fathered by her own dad, Andreas, though publicly Victoria claimed that her neighbor Lorenz was the father. And she had a relationship with Lorenz, like they were seeing each other, so it's possible that he was the father. I don't think anyone really knew for sure, and if they did, there was like, it's a small town, there was a lot of gossip, and she was seeing Lorenz, and then her father forbade her from continuing to see him.
He was jealous.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, sucked. Lorenz ended up getting remarried, and he's their neighbor, so she kind of had to like watch that, which I imagine would have been terrible.
It's tough. Yeah.
With all the misery that this home contained, I'm sure it had like just a dark energy about it from the start. And in 1921, a newly hired maid picked up on that energy when she abruptly quit the position after starting. And I believe this was a live-in maid situation. So she started and pretty much immediately was like, no, I'm not living here.
Good for her. You've got no one to hold them, no one to fold them.
She folded, according to her, because the house was haunted.
Haunted by a living person.
Right. That, and she also said that she heard footsteps in the attic and constantly felt like she was being watched.
Ew. Hate it.
Yeah. So Andreas dismissed this as superstition. He's like, whatever, just like a dumb person. But about 6 months later, it appeared that the ghost was back. Andreas now started himself like complaining about hearing footsteps in the attic. He was talking to his neighbors saying that he hears these weird footsteps.
Wait, Andreas is the dad?
Mm-hmm.
No, Andreas, you don't get to complain about ghosts.
Right. You don't get to,
You
but
brought
also
them. You opened up the energy standards to ghost level.
Probably.
Scary ghost level.
And like weird shit kept happening. One of the family's 2 keys to the tool shed went missing. And even weirder, Andreas one day found a newspaper in his home that he knew he hadn't bought. And at first he thought maybe it was delivered by mistake and someone else who lived in the house brought it inside. But like asking the neighbors and the mailman, like nobody in the neighborhood had ordered him like newspaper like that. So he was just really unsure what it was and how it got into his house.
It's like me when I get my 5th Amazon package for the week. I'm like, did somebody buy something off my teacher page? Who did this? Who got me 12 pairs of no-show socks? I already have 5. That's so you guys getting crazy.
Not I.
Using my Amazon account. Thank goodness I have Prime. Fuck Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, this was a little creepier than getting socks in the mail. In late March of 1922, Andreas made the eeriest discovery yet. So all of this is kind of building over a 6-month period. And now he wakes up and sees a set of footprints in fresh snow. And they're leading from the woods up to the family's farm. They stop. I think it was really unclear online. I think at the tool shed or the barn. And there's none leading back out.
Sounds like some 6th grade Hayley shit, because I would walk out and then carefully step back into my footprints and literally be like, I'm going to fool somebody so hard.
Oh my God.
So, I mean,
so 6th grade Hayley was here and we solved the mystery.
But maybe it was actually scary.
I assure you it was actually scary. So Andreas searched the property. He found no signs of an intruder, but like this is still weird. So he went and told his neighbors his like fun story but like didn't call the police. He didn't find anyone. Big mistake. Huge mistake.
Oh no. Turns out they just had really long legs and just stepped right into the barn.
Like SpongeBob when his leg like extends. Yeah, back into the woods.
They selectively make creepy footsteps. It's about the build-up, the suspense, really.
It's just a prank. No, it wasn't. Days later, on April 1st, a pair of coffee sellers knocked on the Gruber's door. Nobody answered, so they tried knocking on the window. They really wanted to sell their coffee.
Well, I wish coffee sellers would come to me.
Nobody better knock on my door unless you already have a package that I already paid for and you can leave it and then I can get it without talking to anyone.
Pretty much already know I'm gonna buy coffee if it comes to my door. Like that's guaranteed.
I'm with Hayley.
I don't care not a fan of buying things from people.
If it's whole beans. Like I'll buy it. I don't care if it's like a hot cup of coffee ready to go. If somebody comes to my door,
true. If somebody
selling coffee, I'm gonna buy it.
Why don't people? So if I probably wouldn't buy a bag of beans, but if someone came up to my door with like an iced latte,
yeah,
I would not say no.
1000%. Yeah,
I would buy it for sure. Like just like surprise Postmates. You didn't order this, but you want it.
I'm going to do that for your birthday. Like, I know you're not going to want to see anyone on your birthday because birthday anxiety. So I'm just going to order you a little coffee. I'm going to stay away on January 6th because I know your birthday. And you'll be happy and sad. But happy because you get coffee. Sad because birthday.
That's a good plan. I like that. So these coffee sellers weren't so lucky as ours would be. There was no response. They did a lap around the yard looking for people. They noticed that the gate to the machine room was open, but like they looked in, they didn't see anyone. They left. The night before this, at 3 a.m., a butcher was on his way home when he noticed 2 unknown figures at the end of the forest near Hinterkaifeck. When they saw him looking, they turned their faces so he couldn't see who they were. Around that same time, same night, a local artisan was walking by the house and noticed that the outdoor oven was being heated by someone.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
No strangers making pizza on my property. I'll tell you that right now.
I would let a stranger make pizza on my property.
But you're not going to let them sell you coffee?
No, if the coffee is ready to be eaten. I'm a immediate gratification type of person.
We know.
If If someone was selling me a frozen pizza, I would not buy it. But if you show up on my door with a hot pizza, you bet your bippy I'm going to buy that pizza.
Bippy. I like that. That's cute.
Yeah. All right. This was not so cute. The person turned from the oven and then approached him and blinded him with his lantern, like shined it in his eyes and then ran away.
I thought you were going to say like a spear that was like hot and he like gouged his eyes.
No.
Okay, so he's mean, but like not that
Mean, but not that mean. This person also observed that the smoke coming from the oven was emitting a disgusting smell.
Ew.
The younger Kazelia drew attention from her teachers when she was absent from school for several days in a row without an excuse.
Ew, I just got goosebumps. I hate it.
Then on Sunday, the family missed church, and this was especially weird because Victoria sang in the choir.
Oh, God damn it.
The mailman was starting to notice the mail piling up in the mailbox. I keep wanting to say October. On April 4th, a maintenance man arrived for a scheduled appointment to fix a piece of machinery on the farm. He didn't see any of the family, but he heard the farm animals and the dog inside the barn. So he figured like everything was chill. He went ahead and completed the repair in 4.5 hours at the farm and left. But that same day, Victoria's former lover, Lorenz, was like, this is sus. Like by that time, the town was like kind of figuring things out. They're like, where are the Grubers? And it had been like a week almost since they were last seen. And Lorenz was like, this family is kind of reclusive, but also like, where are they?
I would literally never notice if any of our neighbors disappeared.
Same.
I just don't pay attention and we don't talk to our neighbors.
No, but like this is a really small town. Like they were all going to church and school and like everything together. Like
yeah,
they noticed. And Lorenz has had a relationship with Victoria and like I think would sometimes work on the family farm. So he knew them, right? Yeah. And at first he like hadn't been worried and hadn't been tipped off because this whole time the fireplace in the house was being used.
God.
And it seemed like the livestock were being taken care of. They weren't hungry. They weren't like breaking the fence trying to get food. Like the farm chores were being done.
God. Never mind. I'm not gonna. There are things. Never mind.
Okay. It had been now 4 days. So I think I said almost a week. It had been 4 days and since the family was seen. So he just sent his son and stepson over to just see if they could like knock on the door.
You guys are annoying. Right? You guys go. If it's dangerous, that's fine. I'm going to stay here.
Exactly. He didn't give a shit. They came back and said they didn't see anyone. So Lorenz got a couple of his friends and he's like, we're going to take a look. And I love that he sent 2 children over. And then he's like, but I'm not going over there by myself. Like, I need reinforcements.
Jeez, Louise. Yeah, the kids don't know why they're going over.
Right. That's
He's
true.
just like, just go bring them.
Just
bring them
check.
some nuts. Just check in on them.
To knock on the door.
Make sure they didn't get our newspaper because
right.
I
That's
noticed
important.
that our special newspaper was missing. And
very special newspaper.
He did say something about newspaper or something. So just make sure they're not dead.
Right. Knocked on the door. No answer. So he went to the barn. In the barn
I would not investigate further. I would not. I'm sorry.
His like friends have been gone for 4 days. He's going to investigate. He went to the barn, and in the barn was something like horrific, like the worst thing ever. In the barn laid the brutally battered bodies of Andreas, Kazelia, little Kazelia, and Victoria.
Just laid out?
Laid out, and they had been covered in hay, but I don't think covered very well. Because he walked in the barn and saw them, but like there was like hay like kicked over them.
Bro, it's called formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Take a note from Carl's book. Take a page.
Please don't. Then they searched the house, and in the house were the bodies of baby Josef and the new maid Maria Baumbarter. The older Cazelia's body showed signs of strangulation and 7 blows to the head that had cracked open her skull. Andreas's head had been so badly smashed that his cheekbones poked out of his shredded skin.
Oh,
yeah, it's.
no.
I told you it was
That's
bad.
a terrifying visual.
I know. I told you. If I had to read it, you have to hear it. Victoria's skull too was.
That's rude. That's the wrong mindset to go about in life. I suffer, so you have to suffer. Are you
That's-
fucking conservative
you
or
were-
what?
Big Claudia energy.
Big Claudia, GOP, honestly.
Shut up. And I'm just saying that everyone listening had been warned, so sucks. Victoria's skull too.
Oh, so now you like spoilers.
I
Yes, the answer
gave
is
warning.
yes.
I gave warning. I told you. Victoria's
You
skull.
spoiled.
Stop interrupting me. Victoria's skull too was smashed, and on her head showed 9 star-shaped wounds from being hit with a blunt object.
Ew.
Young Cazelia's jaw had been shattered, and her neck was covered in round, open wounds. But unlike the other 3, her injuries hadn't killed her right away.
No. Oh, God. Please,
Yeah.
no.
She was dead when they found her, but evidence showed that she'd been alive for hours after the attack, tearing out chunks of her hair in a state of shock. Yeah, I told you this was fucked up.
That breaks
I know.
my
It's
heart.
awful. It's awful. Yeah. So, yeah, it's awful. It appeared that the 4 had been killed with a mattock, which is a pickaxe-like tool, probably taken from the family's tool shed with that stolen key that had gone missing days before. Maria and Yosef were also killed with the mattock in a similar fashion, and their faces were also covered like the rest of the family. Maria's face was covered with a sheet, and Yosef's face was covered with one of his mother's dresses. And investigators were alarmed to find out that the killer or killers, they weren't sure which, had apparently been living in the family's house since the murders.
Oh my God. This is like Goldilocks, the original Goldilocks.
Not at all, though.
Just like all the children's the children's books from Germany are always fucked up,
Uh-huh.
and then they get
Oh, this is like the Grimm brothers.
changed.
Goldilocks.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought it was Brothers Grimm.
Brothers
but,
Grimm. Either one.
I mean, who's the
Well,
expert?
I am. And
Well,
I say
I
it can
don't
be
know.
either one.
Well, if you say, then I guess you're the expert because we can just say things now, and
We can. It's
true.
our podcast. We can lie if we want to. Someone had been living there. The family's Pomeranian and their livestock had been being fed and cared for.
Why do I just not imagine this family having a fucking Pomeranian?
Right? Like, what farmer has a Pomeranian?
You know what? Maybe they deserved it.
Fuck? I guess. That is just not.
I'm just kidding.
That was good.
So I'm not here for the Pomeranian slander. I love a good Pomeranian.
No,
but
that's
they are
not what I'm slandering. I'm just saying
Oh.
they weren't living their truth and it was harmful to society.
Okay. Okay. But in any case, someone had been living there feeding the animals. The family's supply of bread had been eaten. Meat had recently been cut from the pantry.
It's Goldilocks through and through.
You're right. This is Goldilocks. It's all fake. And there were signs of fires in the hearth. Also chilling was the fact that it appeared, like based on forensics, that the family had been somehow lured out to the barn and killed one by one.
Yeah, they were lured by the first person getting murdered.
You would think, but like they tested it out and human screams from the barn couldn't be heard from the house. So what probably happened was people went out one by one, didn't come back, and then someone else went out to look for them, and
And wait, what did
They
you
just
say
picked them
happened to the
off.
baby?
the baby was killed in the house. So he
Okay.
was in his crib and
The baby and the maid.
And the maid was in her room. So they hadn't gone out. They were probably already asleep or something.
They
Oh,
didn't
and the
get to
baby
play.
couldn't- What?
They didn't get to play
Play?
the lure game.
No.
You know, that
No,
game.
they
lure you
didn't.
out to
They
the barn.
They didn't play.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to deal with trauma. I make jokes.
At first, the police figured that it was probably vagrants passing through the town who like killed everyone to rob them. But this was dismissed because besides the bodies and what was used to cover them, the house and the barn were left mostly undisturbed. It didn't seem like anyone had searched the house, and no valuables or money was taken. So this family did have money. They had it hidden in the house, and it wasn't taken. And it also didn't seem like there was any attempt to find it. Like nothing was like upturned or strewn about.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. The investigation turned out to be extremely challenging, mostly because the police sucked at their jobs, and it wasn't really their fault. Like this was a really
That's so bizarre. I can't believe that
police
that
would be bad
happened.
at their jobs. But like this was also the 1920s in a small farming town in Germany. So like they had no experience dealing with homicide. They just didn't know what the fuck to do. The scene was not locked down. All the townspeople came over to see what was up, walked all over the place, even cooked and ate meals in the kitchen that day. Which, what the fuck is wrong with people?
Why would you want to do that? Like,
I don't
leaving
know.
forensics aside, like cook in your own kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, no one was surviving this, right?
No, nobody
so it's not like
survives.
they're like making a casserole to bring the surviving
I
family
think that
members.
like everyone was there and like shook and just cooking, but it just always makes me think of that John Mulaney bit where like he's talking about like an old timey crime scene.
blood.
Ew, blood, mop it up. Like, that's what this was like. Like everyone was just trudging around, messing shit up. So
That just makes me wonder what we're doing right now. Like in our lives, they're like 100 years from now, they're going to be like, wow, those people really put their whole lives on a podcast and got singled out and murdered like idiots.
I mean, we tell people our location all the time. If someone wanted to murder us,
Yeah.
they 100%
they're like,
could find
oh,
us.
you're across the street from this nationwide brand in this city. And I know you
Yeah.
also live next, like,
And also, you can Google our names and find out where we work. Like,
Yeah.
it's not hard.
yeah. I mean,
please
our
don't kill
old
us.
address is on, when I Googled my name this weekend, it was on the internet.
Yeah,
So
it's out
That's
there.
scary.
It's out there.
please don't murder.
Please don't hurt us.
I would not do well under being murdered.
I would not do well defending myself. I do great at being murdered, but I would be murdered.
Yeah, I'm at maximum stress right now and everything's fine. So please don't hurt me.
Please. The first suspect was Andreas. Had he killed the family and then killed himself? He was known to be abusive. He was even formally convicted by the town's local court of incest with his daughter Victoria, and she was convicted too because this was the 1920s and people were fucked up. But there was no way that his wounds could have been self-inflicted, so he's out. He didn't do it. Another prominent suspect was Lorenz. As the family's neighbor and Victoria's ex-lover and Joseph's dad, like he was a top suspect. He had all the connections to the family. Look at the husband. When there's not a husband, look at the lover.
Yeah.
He had also, like right before the murders, lost his new baby with his wife. So people theorize that maybe he was like dealing with the trauma of this baby, and then maybe Victoria was asking him for child support for Joseph, and like that combination just drove him over the edge.
Yeah. I mean, toxic masculinity.
Right. So maybe he killed the family. Apparently he also acted really suspicious during the initial search. So like I said, he was the one that went straight to the barn and found the bodies. And when he found them, he acted really casually. He touched and moved the bodies without hesitation. He knew his way around the farm. And when he and his friends arrived to search the farm, they broke the gate to get into the barn because it's locked. But when it came time to search the house, Lorenz opened the door with a key and went in by himself.
Well, that's suspicious, but after the Watcher episode, I know nothing.
Right. It is suspicious, and especially because one of the keys had gone missing right before the murder, which is sus. Police questioned him, but they couldn't conclusively place him at the farm at the time of the murders, and his strange behavior could have been explained by a lot of things. He could have been in shock. Of course, he knew his way around the farm because he was seeing Victoria, and he could have been given the key by her. Maybe he was sneaking in and seeing her. So it's not for sure, that it's all circumstantial. He was never arrested, but suspicion stayed on Lorenz, for obvious reasons. And because he made some weird comments about the murders later on that like only the murderer could have known. He once said that the murderer tried to bury the bodies, but couldn't because the ground was frozen.
Weak.
Which is weird. But like also he probably would have known the ground was frozen because he's their neighbor. So, just a
little things that are weird but also explainable.
Yeah, exactly. Just weird enough to cast suspicion, but not enough to convict him. And people still like believed he did it. He's kind of like the top suspect. Over the years, he won several civil claims and slander cases because people were calling him the murderer of Hinterkaifeck. But
my gosh,
it wasn't
he just
proven.
Rakes up enough in these slander suits that he's able to pay bond when he's eventually found guilty.
Right? Yeah, that's the end goal, right? Another possibility.
He knows how to play the game.
He's playing the long game.
Why they
for
called
sure.
him Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. Gold digger locks.
Yeah.
That was weak. Not apparently. Another possibility is that the killer was Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, returned home from war. Victoria was a widow, but because it was assumed that her husband died in France during World War I, about 10 years before the murders, but his body was never recovered. So what if he had actually been a prisoner of war, not killed, and then he came back to find that his wife had a new baby that wasn't his, was driven into a rage and killed everyone.
I mean, yeah, PTSD is very real.
For sure, especially from fucking World War I trench warfare. He was probably fucked up for life.
There's no way there's any treatment. They didn't even know what PTSD was.
No.
Trauma was just life, I feel like, in the 1920s.
Yeah, it was just life. And so this theory was tossed around, but ultimately dismissed because police interviewed his fellow soldiers who confirmed his death, saying they saw the body. But also it's memories from war. They're probably not the most reliable things. The theory resurfaced decades later, even after World War II, when released war captives claimed that they'd been sent home by a German-speaking Soviet guard who himself claimed to be the Hinterkaifeck murderer. He was probably
why
saying
would you
that
say that?
probably
though?
to scare them.
But
I would think
that's weak. If anything's weak, just saying something like that is weak.
Totally. And these people that said that also revised their statements, furthery. Oh my goodness.
Let me clarify. When I said I was a murderer, I wasn't talking about...
He didn't revise his statements.
Oh.
The people who heard him say that revised their statements.
Oh, they were like, yes, let me revise. When he said he was a murderer, I misheard him. He was saying, I'd murder her.
He's a German Soviet.
Her.
He's a great guy. He would never murder anyone.
I mean, he was a leader. He was a murderer. He did everything right.
Yeah.
He was a herder. He was a murderer. He was a murderer. He was a murderer. What?
What?
I didn't say that.
Okay. At one point, years later, police were so desperate for leads that they sent the skulls of the victims to Munich to be read by psychics.
Wow. Cool. I like it.
Progressive. The psychics didn't sense anything, and the skulls ended up being lost in the chaos of World War II.
Well, that was bad. Bad decision.
Bad timing. And because they were lost, they were never reunited with the victims' bodies, so they're still buried without heads.
Oh my God. I wonder where they are now.
In the
Do we
graveyard.
know? Oh,
Probably in a
so
cemetery.
They were buried?
They were
still?
buried, yeah.
The skulls were?
The skulls were lost.
But that's what I'm saying.
sorry.
Where are they now?
How dare I misunderstand you? Yeah, the skulls got lost, like I said.
Well, I know.
If they were in
which is-
Germany, they probably got blown up.
Yeah. Or who knows? I mean, many people's skulls got lost during World War II.
I'm about to lose my skull with this scary story.
Knew that was coming.
In 1951, a woman named Crescentia Meyer made a deathbed confession that her brothers Adolf and Anton Gump had committed the murders.
Well, there you go. Adolf. So also
Everyone's
I found
name
out,
was Adolf back then.
Yeah, I have an ancestor I realized this weekend whose name was Adolf.
Wow.
Adolf Madden. So
What a claim to fame. Adolf was already dead. But Anton...
supposed to make
Hayley,
me feel
I still
better.
have like 3 pages. We need to
Okay, I'm
buckle
sorry.
down.
I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Adolf was already dead, but Anton was investigated, though they couldn't find any evidence of him being the killer. In 1971, another woman wrote letters to investigators. In this letter, she recounted a memory from her childhood where her mother was visited by the mother of 2 brothers named Carl and Andreas. This person claimed that her sons were responsible for the murders and said, quote, Andreas regretted that he lost his penknife. The farm was demolished in 1923, I think just because the town wanted to be rid of this tragedy. And when they demolished it, they found a pocket knife. So maybe that was the knife that she was talking about.
What
from
a
the
weird thing
sons
to just
killing her.
find after demolishing a town.
It's not a town, it's just the farm. And
Oh.
it is a weird thing, but also everyone has pocket knives. So it probably wasn't his. It probably was just on the farm. And another, a maid, Crescens Rieger, told police that I'm sorry. I skipped a part. I'm sorry. A former maid told police that she knew this family. She knew this knife belonged to the family. So
How though? How would she know
because
that?
she had seen it. She'd seen the knife on the farm. And it's possible that this guy had the same knife or whatever, but it probably was just a knife from the family.
Yeah,
Doesn't
okay.
really check out. A former maid, Crescens Rieger, told that's her name. Crescens Rieger.
Credenza.
Unless I mistyped it, that's her name. Told police, which is highly possible, that she suspected brothers Anton and Carl Bickler as the murderers. Anton had helped on the farm in the past and reportedly suggested that the family ought to be dead, probably because they sucked ass, especially Andreas. The family dog also apparently never barked at Anton, so maybe he could have, snuck into the house undetected. And it seemed like someone had been living in the house, right? Because of the footsteps in the attic, the feelings of being watched, the newspaper.
Ew, I
So
hate
someone
it so
probably
much.
was living in the house besides the murders, and they had a barky fucking Pomeranian. So the Pomeranian wasn't barking at this guy. Maybe it was him. And he also apparently I'm sorry, I keep messing up. So possibly he killed the family for money and couldn't find it. But it also doesn't seem like he really looked. So I don't know. The same maid also told police about the Thaler brothers. So this guy, Josef Thaler, had stood in front of the maid's window at night and asked her questions about the family, which, ew.
Weird on so many levels.
Right, so weird. Apparently she refused to respond. So this guy is just standing outside her window creepily.
Just talking at a window,
at
basically.
her. Yeah. And even creepier, he told her that he knew which rooms each member of the family slept in, and he knew they had a lot of money. So highly sus. Highly sus. But they never really confirmed that it was him. The final known possibility is Paul Mueller. He was suspected.
Mueller.
I'm sorry, what is the connection?
You've never seen Ferris Bueller,
This is Mueller, not Bueller.
but they rhyme.
Oh my God, we're stretching.
I thought it was
It's
a
my
good joke.
podcast. I can rhyme if I want to.
Ferris Bueller.
People make jokes like that all the time, Kat.
Okay, maybe it's because
What
I
is
know
happening?
I know people with the last name Mueller, so in my mind does not connect it to Ferris Bueller. Pardon me, but so I was
Sure.
a little thrown off.
Sure.
Have you seen Ferris Bueller?
Yes, I've seen Ferris
Okay,
Bueller.
thank
Okay,
God.
okay.
That would have been a friendship ending misstep.
Really? Do you like that movie?
Yeah.
Okay. It's fine. I don't dislike it. I just didn't know that was like your favorite movie.
It's not my favorite movie, first of all. Godfather is. Second of all, it's a good movie.
It is a good movie. I'm not one to knock Ferris Bueller's motherfucking Day Off, but
Well,
doesn't sound much like
seems
Paul
like
Mueller.
Ferris Bueller, Paul Mueller.
Have you never heard someone go Bueller?
No.
Bueller.
What?
Bueller.
What do you even remember that part in the movie?
No, I've seen it once and it was like 6 years ago.
No fucking chance of you even watching it again. So let's just
I will
move
not
on.
watch it
Yeah.
again. Okay.
The audience got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, audience.
Okay, my bad. I'm
Looking at
just
you.
an uncultured swine. He Paul Mueller, not to be confused with the much more fun Ferris Bueller, was suspected of a 1897 murder of a Massachusetts family.
On his day off. It all connects.
There's an author, Bill James, that wrote a book about this guy because he thinks that he's responsible for a whole string of murders. So this guy, Bill James, I think is a historian, I assume, because he did all this research in newspaper archives.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just a great writer.
If not
I don't know.
a historian, yeah, he does words.
He does words. And this Massachusetts murder and the Hinterkaifeck murder have a lot of similarities. It was a whole family slaughtered in an isolated home, the use of a blunt farming tool as a weapon, and the absence of robbery. So Mueller was a German immigrant. Maybe after, he started being suspected of murders, he fled back to Germany and did this one. Especially after he was connected to a 1912 murder of 2 families in Colorado and another family weeks later in Kansas. So it seems like if this guy was doing all these murders, like it was starting to catch up to him, fled to Germany. It's also suspected that he might be the perpetrator of the Villisca Axe murders. So there was like kind of this string of like brutal murders of families and farmhouses across the country. You've heard of the Villisca Axe murders, right? It was a similar situation where a family was just like murdered in their home, this time with an axe, and no one ever knew who did it. It's a really famous case. He possibly could have been doing all of these. So it would make sense that if he fled to Germany, he'd keep doing what he did.
Yeah, it
You
seems
know?
like it's so much more difficult to solve a case when it's a complete random person, someone
Yeah.
not connected to the family.
Like if he's doing all this, like he just likes killing. He wasn't robbing anyone. So like maybe, I mean, it is a stretch. These are all really famous murders. And to just be like this one guy did all of them across the world, like they're definitely reaching. But it's
First
interesting.
of all, I'm a
and
globetrotter.
Maybe possible. Yeah.
Second of all, I'm a murderer.
I'm a murderer. Yes. In any case, this brutal murder remains unsolved, and that is the story of the Hinterkaifeck murders.
Ew! I thought you were gonna conclude this with like, well, here's the actual truth. So here you go. Go sleep soundly.
It's unsolved. This
Oh
could
my
happen
God.
to anyone. It could happen to you, and the
Well-
person can never be caught.
To all the murderers out there, even though it looks like a commune, me and my roommates are not a family.
No, we're not.
You cannot
blood
murder. We do
relatives.
not meet your MO. So move along.
Bye now.
Well,
But if you do murder us, go ahead and take care of the cats. You can live
Well,
in our house if you do.
yeah,
that.
take care of your cats. Make sure to embalm me. Cat, what do you want happening to
I
your
don't
body?
care. I'll be dead.
You'll be dead. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if we're watching Batch, embalm me, put me on the couch.
There you go.
Make me some mozzarella sticks.
Oh, make me some mozzarella sticks. I'm so hungry. Anyway, my sources are the Hinterkaifeck Murders Wikipedia page, all that's interesting article called The Gruesome Tale of the Unsolved Hinterkaifeck Murders by Katie Serena, a Mental Floss article called The Chilling Story of the Hinterkaifeck Killings, Germany's Most Famous Unsolved Crime by Sonia Vitomsky, and a grunge article called The Creepy Truth About the Hinterkaifeck Murders by Benito Sereno. And
Wow.
that's my spooky lesson.
That was really messed up.
I know. I'm
I
sorry.
also kind of liked it.
I mean, I wouldn't have picked it if I didn't like it. But like like an interesting way.
And a much more real sense.
It is
I
very,
hated it.
Yes, much more real sense. I hated it. It is an extremely creepy story. It's just so creepy that like a home invader, like, and nobody knew
Like,
who it
living
was
there.
or why, and lived
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it's so chilling. So I hope you guys liked it, or at least found it interesting to learn about. If you liked this episode, please remember to rate,
Wait.
review.
Wait,
I'm
I
sorry.
need to cite my sources.
Oh, okay.
I forgot.
I thought you were going to save it for next week.
I feel like I should cite them
Okay, yeah.
both. Right?
Go for it. Yeah. why
Okay.
not?
Okay, so Alice Obscura, Morbid Monday, The Macabre Romance of a Man and a Mummy, WilsonFuneralAdvice.com, Undying Love, the book that I read over our fall break, The True Story of a Passion That Defied Death by Ben Harrison, Wikipedia, and museumfacts.co.uk.
Thank you, Hayley. And thank you guys for listening. Tune in next week. Don't forget about the costume party. And 3, 2, 1, class dismissed.